Privyet, greetings from Kiev. Couple of Ukraine during the coronavirus lockdown. It's the beginning of April, and this street, what I'm standing on, and what you can see behind me, is Khreshchatyk. It is the main thoroughfare. It's pretty big. There are normally, even during a weekday, hundreds of people, if not thousands, walking right here. And as you can see behind me, there's almost no one. It's almost completely deserted. Actually, there's still a lot of cars, as you can probably hear in the background, but it's coronavirus lockdown. It's been taken pretty serious by the Ukrainian authorities. So let's go and take a walk around lockdown Kiev, Ukraine. Поехали.
Tsar Experience.
So I've just walked up to the other end of Khreshchatyk to Maidan, which is the square, the main square here in the center of Kiev. Just give you a 360 so you can see. What do you see behind me? I don't think you see very many people because there are not. This is unprecedented. I have never seen it like this. Not even at 6 in the morning are there so few people here in Kiev's main square. So it is rush hour. That's why I think you have all this traffic up behind me. But very few people. Wow. It's actually given me a lot of time to reflect because also on the revolution you have a lot of literature here up, plaques and boards. I'm going to go and take a walk around now because you never see the center of Kiev so empty of people. So I'm going to take advantage of that. Let's go. Just took a look around the National Memorial to the Euromaidan Revolution, and pretty interesting stuff. They just explain the connection between earlier independence movements in Ukraine and then what happened here. First in 2004 with the Orange Revolution here on the square, and then later on in end of 2013, end of 2014 with the Euromaidan Revolution. And when I was there was not one person who came by. I don't know, like it took me probably about 15 minutes to go read everything, have a look around, reflect. Not one person came by. Pretty crazy. Well, that's Kiev in the time of coronavirus. There you go, that's right on cue. This is what it's come down to. You get your coffee to take away. It's a little bit like a picnic style and a tiramisu here. So, just before I wolf this down, just tell you about what it's like, the situation with food. It's pretty similar probably to the rest of Europe at the moment. You cannot actually go into down a restaurant. Now I could go into this place here and actually look at everything and pick it out without a problem, but it's mainly milk products and desserts, so not really going to sustain you throughout the entire day. So most of the restaurants though, they're still doing food. They have basically boards up outside telling you the phone number or the app for delivery. So basically everybody seems to be working in terms of the restaurants, in terms of actually being open and cooking the food. But yeah, you can't go sit down, it's not so comfortable, and there's almost no one on the streets. So basically people are just calling in food, or they're going to the supermarket and cooking it themselves. But you can still get most of the restaurants, you can still have your food. I'm gonna maybe get some Crimean Tatar cuisine later on this evening, eat some of that. So that's the situation, and I'm gonna enjoy my coffee a little bit more picnic style at the moment in Kiev. So now I've come to the lower part of the city, Podil, and I'm here at the Andreyski Spusk, or Andreyski Uzviz, if I pronounce that right in Ukrainian, with the lack of foreigners here. So an interesting comment. What are all the gold diggers and in particular the scammers doing for revenues in this coronavirus lockdown? We could say maybe not scammers, but the travel girls, the girls who wait for guys to invite them, whether they happen to be foreigners or locals here, and fly them out somewhere. What's happened to them? Well, obviously they are quite literally grounded with this coronavirus lockdown because there are no flights out of the country, so they cannot travel. So it's going to be pretty rough for them, one would think. But yes, these online sites where people pay for communication or pay to play, that's their saving grace if you're a Ukrainian scammer girl, I guess, or you're having some sponsor send you money in these tough times of coronavirus, where your other revenue streams have disappeared. Oh, we've almost got the top of this Andrejski Spust. Whew, good bit of sport. Good times coronavirus. So I've only got to the top of Andrejski Uzvis. That's been one of the things with the coronavirus, I think, around the world, is that people are doing more sport, getting fitter as a result. Not entirely convinced that actually, because in Kiev a lot of the parks are closed. Actually everything is closed basically, so you're not actually supposed to do that. But I have seen a few people out cycling in the center here, so I guess some people are taking advantage to get fitter and stronger. So yeah, so right, me, how do you think that the scammer girls, how their lives have been affected? It's funny, it's not just the economy, the people who go to work in offices and have regular jobs, regular, honest, hardworking people who are going to be hit by this coronavirus lockdown. It's also those that are dishonest. But they're a creative bunch. I'm sure they've found other ways to make money in the meantime. One of those is definitely going online. They're spending all their time online trying to lure guys like you into sending them cash some way online, whether that's paying for communication. I can be very transparent, like on MyFans, which I'm actually in favor of. Hey, if you want to get exclusive access to someone and then in exchange they have to give up their time to you, well, it's a scarce resource, so you know that has to be rationed, and the way for you to get access to it, if that's what you're interested in, is of course to pay for it. But the other side is when it's actually not even the girl herself, it's actually arranged by a company that run like an agency, like a team of translators that are actually writing to the guy online. Or the girl does show up suddenly when they buy presents on the website, of course, at inflated prices, and the girl has a photo, takes a snap, sends it back, but she's actually paid for this. So definitely don't fall into that trap. Keep well away from those pay per communication, or pay per play as they're called, sites online. Not a good investment in your time. It's hardly ever going to be anything serious. But if you just want to pay for communication and you're happy with that, or it's maybe a sugar daddy site, sugar babe, then it's pretty clear and transparent, so knock yourself out if that's what you're into. But it's not what I recommend, for sure. So I'm pretty sure that you're familiar with what this is by now, at this stage of a lockdown in most of Europe and North America and in most parts of the world, unfortunately. Face mask now obligatory in Ukraine if you go outside. You're supposed to get fined if you're not wearing it. I have seen the police, and maybe about 80% of people now in Kiev are wearing them. The police have not reacted to the people who are not wearing them. They didn't come over and question them and fine them. You're also supposed to carry your ID with you at all times. I have mine here, but again, I haven't been stopped by the police here. So in general, compared to Odessa last week, it's definitely a big increase in the number of people wearing the face masks. And that's also, I think, a factor with Kiev being more law-abiding in general than Odessa Mama. People respect the law a bit more here, at least a tiny bit more here than Odessa, and people are walking around in general with the face masks. I was stopped on the way into Gulliver, which is department store or mall in the center of Kiev. Not a huge one, but it is a kind of shopping center, and there's a supermarket that's open downstairs, and there they weren't going to let me go shopping unless I was wearing it. So there it is enforced. where you're obviously in a bit more close proximity with people in general. Very few people actually come towards me, so I guess this social distancing message that the government has been pushing has also worked here. So that's been the situation on the ground here in Kiev. It's definitely a lot quieter, a lot less places are open. It's pretty dull. It's not eerily quiet. Like I've seen other videos on YouTube showing San Francisco with no one on the streets and no traffic. Here there's a lot of traffic actually, because we're even outside of rush hour. This city has really bad traffic around this time normally. It's really hard to get to the airport. The metro is closed over there. There are buses running, I see, through the center of Kiev, so I haven't shut down all transport in the city, so people can still get around. I actually used my app to go get my haircut. So I went to my hairdresser's apartment to get it done when I first got to Kiev. And I actually noticed there's also an Uber shuttle service that seems, so I actually saw it on the street, so like a little money bus going across. So you can still get around the city pretty much. It's just a little bit dull. There's not much to do. What I've been using my time for, because obviously there's no clubbing, there's no partying, and I cannot even go to a museum and stuff. I've of course been putting a lot of my time into working and learning, something I also encourage you to do. I've been working on a new video course. Definitely you're going to be very interested to check that out when it's released, probably released in the next 2 weeks in fact. So make sure that you have whacked the notification bell after you squeeze that red subscribe button. Make sure that you're going to get a notification, because I'm going to have a 3-part video series next week that you don't want to miss. It's going to be the fundamentals of coming here to Eastern Europe, to Ukraine and Belarus and Russia, and just having an amazing time, not getting scammers and trying to rob you. You can avoid all that stuff and also meet beautiful, interesting women, of course, when you come here. So definitely go check that out. What can I say? It's almost 6 o'clock here. It's a beautiful evening again. So it makes it even more surreal not to see so few people on the street here. And I'm going to go and enjoy it and soak it up and reflect a little bit here beside the memorials for Euromaidan revolution. So do побачення, до свидания, see you very soon in the next video. Ciao.
SAR Experience.